In the following video, we will demonstrate how a purchase order that is created in SAP is transmitted and presented to a supplier via Nipendo's automation platform, and how the supplier might respond to the order. A standard transaction, ME21N, is entered in SAP, including 3 line items, and then sent to the supplier via Nipendo. Note the indication that a new IDOC was created, and the confirmation that it was successfully received by the supplier. We now look at it from the supplier's side on Nipendo's platform, where we see an indication in the What's New tab that a new order arrived from SAP 9913, which includes the 3 items we previously created. By going into the Items tab, we're able to see the 3 items that were created in SAP in standard format. We can also drill down into more detail, such as deliver date, ship to, remarks, and more. If we go to the Image tab, we'll find the original version of the PO in the native print layout of the customer in SAP, which includes information about terms and conditions, as well as shipping instructions. Moving to the What to Do tab, the system instructs us to either approve or reject the order. In this example, we choose to approve lines 10 and 30, but to reject line 20, and we then enter the rejection reason. This is one way by which the supplier can interact with the buyer. Once our response is submitted, it is automatically posted in line level in SAP. We can also communicate with the buyer using chat, and our note will be automatically posted on the SAP side. The buyer's response to the supplier's note, which will be entered into SAP, will automatically appear on Nipendo's side. Now again from the SAP side, the buyer sees an incoming message from the supplier associated with a new PO confirmation message. If we click on the vendor chat icon, we'll see the comments submitted by the supplier, asking to reject one of the line items. The buyer sees that the supplier approved line items 10 and 30, but rejected line item 20 because it cannot be supplied. The PO can now be modified in accordance with the supplier's note. Let's assume the buyer chooses to modify the purchase order in accordance with the supplier's note regarding line item 20. We enter the purchase order screen, select Change Mode, and review the chat message received from the supplier. We then delete line 20 according to the supplier's request and create another line instead, reflecting a different quantity. We then click Save. We then return to the monitor where we see that a new message has been sent to Nipendo and confirmation that it was received successfully. Viewing the transaction from the supplier's side on Nipendo's platform, we see in the What's New section that PO 9913 has been updated. We then enter the order itself. The supplier can now view the changes made by the buyer in detail. We see that line 20 was deleted, and a new one was created instead. In the What to Do section, the supplier receives guidance around the requested actions on the specific PO. Once approved, an update will be sent to the buyer's SAP. You'll also note an indication that a new chat message was received from the buyer, in this case, acknowledging our approval. After providing the goods, the supplier receives the goods receipt from the customer and then issues an invoice. With Nipendo, suppliers can issue the invoice through their own system, using Nipendo's plugin or any standard interface, or through our web portal. They can also send invoices through email with an attached document or use Nipendo's mobile app. In this demo, we show use of Nipendo's web portal. Since we already have the PO data, we will flip it to create an invoice. Once we click on Flip to Tax Invoice, we're asked to upload the invoice image and select the relevant invoice image document. In some countries, a digital signature of the image is required. This feature is supported by Nipendo's technology. We continue by filling in only 3 additional data elements: invoice number, invoice date, and the shipping notification number, which are required in this case in order to match this invoice with the relevant goods receipt. If the invoice is flipped from a GR, goods receipt, it can be matched automatically without having to add the shipping notification number. It can also be matched automatically if created before the arrival of goods or before receipt of the GR document. The remaining information will be automatically retrieved from the order itself. As we proceed, we can see all the PO lines and select line 30, which is what was actually received by the buyer. However, since we also shipped the items in line 40, we would like to invoice it as well, despite not yet having a GR for it. We proceed and enter any discounts and tax information before reviewing the completed invoice, then send it off. Once sent, Nipendo's RPA engine goes into action, implementing process compliance measures and running automatic 3-way match validations against the relevant PO, shipping notifications, and GR. We now see that a new invoice document was created, and when entering the document, we see the invoice data, the image we uploaded, as well as the invoice header, and the listed line items from rows 30 and 40 in the PO. Note that the invoice is on hold, as indicated in the Validation tab. Drilling down into Nipendo's validation details, we'll see that the reason for placing it on hold is because a GR for line 40 has not yet been generated by the customer. Once the customer's SAP system generates the GR, it will be automatically processed by Nipendo's platform. The invoice will be revalidated and automatically released to the customer's SAP system. We now move to the SAP system on the buyer's side and create a goods receipt for line 40 using Migo transaction. We enter and save the relevant data and create a GR document in SAP, which automatically sends it off to Nipendo. On Nipendo's side, we can see that the GR for line 40 was created and received. Recall that the invoice sent by the supplier was placed on hold because there was no goods receipt document for line 40. Now that a GR was created, the knocking mechanism of Nipendo's RPA engine automatically identified the new GR, revalidated the invoice, and released it once it passed all validations. Pulling down the Validation tab will reveal the entire validation process that was documented and presented to the supplier, indicating that the invoice was initially set on hold due to lack of GR confirmation, but then released once the GR was received. It is worth mentioning that Nipendo has built and incorporated in its platform more than 250 validation robots. Combining them in a design tool enables us to create specific automatic workflows for specific spend processes, or for any other parameter or business process that the customer seeks to automate. The most common applications are 3-way match and 2-way match validation sets that include data integrity checks of mandatory fields, ensuring that the invoice is balanced within itself, that its date is neither in the future nor in the distant past, as well as business validations, such as price, amount, and quantity matchings against the PO and the GR. Additional validations touch on tax and exchange rates, business process integrity, PO line approval, complex price matching, completion of data from the PO, and more. Once the invoice is successfully validated by Nipendo, it is sent to the customer's ERP system and is posted there. Now, let's view the invoice from the SAP side. We're able to drill down into the purchase order, view the purchase order history, and see that the invoice was created for lines 30 and 40, and that it originated in Nipendo's web portal. We also see the correspondence between the supplier's AP team and that of the buyer. The invoice process is now complete. The new invoice is posted in the ERP system, and the invoice status has been sent to Nipendo, notifying the supplier that the invoice was received and confirming its payment date. On Nipendo's side, we see the invoice approval notice from the customer's SAP system. If we visit the status history, we see that the invoice was sent, set on hold because there was no GR for line 40, then automatically released once the GR for line 40 was received, and sent to the ERP system, where it was received and approved. The following is another method by which suppliers can communicate with buyers, particularly those which have production lines and find it important to receive an advanced shipping notification or scheduling report regarding product delivery dates. Going to the What to Do tab, we are instructed to create a schedule confirmation. We click Apply and select the relevant line item, which indicates the requested delivery date and quantity, information we're able to modify and communicate back to the buyer. In this example, we choose to split line 10 to the quantities of 30 for the original delivery date and 10 for another date. Once submitted, the transaction will be sent to the customer's SAP system and posted there on the Confirmation tab. Viewing it from the ERP side, we see the supplier's confirmation and the split that was created. Quantity of 30 to be delivered on August 27th and 10 on the following day. In our final video segment, we will demonstrate MIGO, the creation of the goods receipt document in SAP. As the warehouse, we enter the MIGO transaction, add the purchase order number, and receive line item 30. The transaction is now saved, and a new goods receipt message is sent to the supplier through Nipendo. From the supplier's perspective, we see that the document that was just created in the ERP system has been received. Clicking on it will open the goods receipt details, showing the order, PO line number, and quantities that were received, shipping notification number, and more.